Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I have a video for you today where I'm going to show you how I created this little fabric collage junk journal cover, and this is a field notes size cover, and I showed it, my gosh, it is months ago now, in a video, and I said that I would show you how I did it, and this has still been sitting in my unfinished projects pile since then. I've not put any pages into it, and I've been so inspired by fellow junk journal makers here on YouTube who are tackling their unfinished projects pile that I decided I'm going to do that as well. But for today, this video, I'm just going to show you how I do it, and we're going to make a standard size traveler's notebook cover. All I've done to prepare is I have a piece of cardstock to the size that I want for my cover, and so this is 8 1/4 high by 8.66 wide. Then I have a piece of decorative cardstock for the inside of the cover cut to the same size, and then another piece of decorative cardstock that's the same height, 8 1/4, and it's 6 1/4 inches wide, so I'm going to create 2 pockets on the inside of the cover. I also have cut a piece of fabric just a little bit bigger than my cover and frayed the edges. So I'll show you from the side. So that's the option that I'm going with, which is similar to this one, unfinished edges. But if you wanted, you could cut this a little wider, you know, maybe 3/4 of an inch bigger than your piece of cardstock, and you could then, I'll show you this way, just fold it over and sew it for a finished edge all around your cover. And then from my scrap bin, I have pulled out a bunch of snippets and goodies. So we've got pieces of doilies. I wanted to keep it kind of neutral, so I've got just a few shades of ivory aged doilies, and then this one that's a little darker, I think is so pretty, and some lace, and just a bunch of stuff. These are 2 doilies that are still intact, and we may do something with those, cut them, or I'm not sure yet. And then I've got a piece of sari silk ribbon that I tore off another piece, and we're going to use that to create a ruffle. So I'm going to move the camera so you can see me on the sewing machine, but the first thing I'm going to do is distress ink the edges of my papers. Okay, so I'm going to, I use my glue stick just to hold things in place until I sew them. So don't use too much of it. A couple of dabs here and there, and that'll hold the fabric. And then all I do is just create my collage. So I'm thinking, I do love this doily, but I don't want the whole thing, so I'm just going to cut this right in half. And I like things sticking off the edges. So we've got that one. This is one of my favorites. I don't know what I'll do when I run out of this stuff. It reminds me of like a netting. It's just so interesting. I'm actually going to put some lace underneath. So this is it. This is all I do. I'm just going to keep putting this together. Okay, so you can pin if you want to hold things in place. I don't usually do that. I kind of really just wing it. I am going to move that over because I'm trying to remember that where the fold is in the cover, so I'll move that a little bit. But this is all I do. I just kind of randomly place things on. You can also, again with the glue stick, to hold things in place a little bit to sew, but I'm not even going to do that. We're just gonna go for it. Okay, so I don't worry completely about the edges because I'm going to be sewing the inner page on right around the edge. So I kind of just go around. I'm using a straight stitch. Sometimes you'll have to lift up the foot just to position the piece where you want it so it doesn't roll up. And now I'm going to cut across this. And go across this way. I'm just trying to catch edges of things to hold them down. Sometimes I will follow the circle of a doily piece like that. And go back down this way a little bit. I'm going to come straight back up and go over that one and catch the edge of that. Go back over this way. Take it off just to see what I've got. And so you can kind of, you know, if you don't want all of that, I just go back over that. If you use a coordinating thread color, then honestly you don't really see it that much. If you want to use a really contrasting thread color, you could do that too, but if I did that, I would probably try to do things a little bit neater maybe, but I don't know, maybe not. Plus that, because that was a little bit too loose for me. And then let's see what we've got over there. See, I want that down. And if you don't want to sew, if you don't have a sewing machine or you don't want to do that, you could glue all these pieces down with a fabric glue. This here, see that? Now you could leave that as a tuck, but I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to go across from there. Let's see. And again, I haven't gone, I'll show you on the back. I've gone about that far because we're going to sew when we sew the inside piece in, but you can see what I've done. And just go around. I think I'm going to just sew the edge of these circles down a little bit. Yeah, I think this one too. Just a little bit there. So I think we are good. I'm going to trim up all my threads, and then we're going to put the inside cover on. Okay, I'm going to try and do this inside cover part without putting the camera back up above. Now for this, if you wanted to glue it all completely down, you can do that. You do not have to sew. I am going to sew this on at the same time. For this part, I am going to put glue stick to hold it in place. You could also put a paper crafting glue of your choice to hold it down. I'm not going to go to the edge. I don't want it to gum up my needle. But I am going to put enough glue to hold it down really well. And I'm just going to center that. Back to the sewing machine. I'm going to go slow with this because I'm lining up a few things here, so I want to make sure it's nice and neat. If you have floppy bits on the outside cover, just hold those in place while you get started sewing. So I'm going to start the bottom corner, again holding whatever floppy parts I may have, and as close to the edge as I can get, and straight stitch again. I'm just going to do one back lock stitch, and then get this as a little, there we go, everything looks good, and I'm going to go slow with this, going through a lot of layers, wanting to make sure I'm holding everything in place. Okay, so last but not least is the ruffle. So I'm going to sew that on really quickly, and this is the front cover, and I'm going to line up where my other sewing is, so I won't, I'm going to try to line up where my other sewing is, so right about there I think is pretty good. And then a ruffle is another, I think, pretty easy. You just kind of push it in as you sew. Got another straight stitch, and I'm just going to push it as I go, trying to keep everything nice and straight. If it doesn't work, you can sometimes use you know, just something to push it in. A pencil would even work, just something like that. I will lift from underneath and create the little ruffle. I'm just going to sew straight down, pushing it in. I think it's finished, everyone. Here is our ruffle, our inside pockets. Oh, let me grab my darker background so you can see this better. Fabulous scrap buster project. I do want to apologize. When I was editing the first half or the first 3/4 of the video, I realized when I was using the sewing machine I was super close to the camera, so I'm hoping that you could see everything that I'm talking about, but I do apologize for that. And I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me. Leave any comments and questions down below. I will see you back here again real soon, everybody. Bye.